Hi, I wanted to give you guys a quick explanation to the answers to essential question number 1 that was given on June 27th, 2011. That's the spring of 2011. The actual text itself will eventually be up on Script D, but I wanted to talk you through some of the answers. The first one we have on here is that you own your own airline and decide to buy a new plane and issue bonds to do so. This is one of those compound problems that's there, and so you essentially have to handle the part where you purchase the plane, and at the same time you have to find the way of issuing the bonds. So purchasing the plane is basically turning cash into a different kind of asset, into a fixed asset. Selling the bonds means that you're taking this, taking on a liability and getting cash in exchange for the liability. And I'm focusing very much on making sure that the balance sheet actually balance on this one, and then you see the echo that happens in the cash flow statement. So when you buy the plane, what happens is that you're going to have your fixed assets going up, and in order to do so, you're taking on liabilities, and so at the same time your liabilities are going up. And the main thing is that your balance sheet is balancing. Your assets are going up by, I don't know, $20 million, and your liabilities are going up by $20 million, and that keeps your balance sheet balanced. So that's the selling the bonds and buying the plane part on the balance sheet. Well, we also have some stuff going over on the cash flow statement. And what's happening over there is that you've got cash coming in from the bonds, and then you have cash going out because you're purchasing the plane. So what you're seeing is a decrease in cash in the finance section, and a decrease in cash from the investment section, that's the buying the plane part, and an increase in cash from the finance section, and that's the selling the bond part. And so in net, nothing happens to cash, but you do have these two components. So that's question number 1 on there. Question number 2 is the pilots union negotiates a 50% increase in salaries. There'll be no reductions in flights. Well, this one here is supposed to be a kind of operating expense. So what you're seeing is operating expenses going up, and that implies that your net income is going to go down, and that's just those income statement effects. Those always feed over into the cash flow statement. So what you should see is because your net income went down, your cash from operations also went down, and that'll make it so your net cash went down. So that one there is kind of a simple expense that goes up, but actually if you look, there's several that do this. If you look, question 3, it's exactly the same question. It's an increase in expenses. It just is a different story that goes along with it. And if you go ahead and check out question number 7, exact same thing. It's an increase in expenses. So basically questions 2, 3, and 7 are just the same question over again, so they'll have like identical effects. So let's hit the next one that actually does have something a little bit different, and that one is your company issues 1,000 shares of its own stock. And this is a way of bringing in new owners. And so what you're doing here is you are getting yourself some new cash. So your assets are increasing, but you got to remember it's got to balance it off somehow. So you go to the other side of the equal sign. You know it's not a change in liabilities, but because you're issuing this new stock, what you're seeing is this increase in owner equity. So you've got an increase in cash, that's an asset, increase in owner equity, your balance sheet balances. Well, got to remember this is cash that's coming in, and so what you're seeing is you're going to see an uptick someplace on the cash flow statement. It's not operations, it's not investments, but where it's going to come from is going to be finance. So you'll see this increase in cash from finance. So it's something that's relatively simple like that. Now the next one is an asset transaction, which is you sell one of your older planes for cash. So what you're doing is you're taking an asset, which is the plane, and you're converting it into another kind of asset, which is cash. So what you're doing is you're making your fixed assets go down, current assets go up, and you see that your balance sheet balances right there inside the asset category. There's no need to go into liabilities, there's no need to go into owner equity. And so that's on the balance sheet. Now nothing happens on the income statement, but remember you're selling a plane and you're turning it into cash. Anytime you see cash, you should think that something's going to happen on the cash flow statement. So what you do then is go, okay, I'm buying and selling assets, so this is cash from investments. I'm getting cash, so there's going to be an increase in cash from investments. And that should be your answer that you have for question number 5. Question number 6, you pay off one of your fuel invoices. Those planes use a lot of fuel. Now, think about this one right here. Your invoice that you have there represents an account payable. You know that as a liability. And so what you're doing then is making it so that there's a decrease in some liability that's there. Well, how did you make that decrease? You got rid of some cash. You paid them cash, and so you have some assets go down. You have assets go down and liabilities go down, and it balances out that balance sheet again. But remember, you're using up cash, so it's got to show up someplace. Well, liabilities are linked to the cash flow statement through finance. And so this was money you essentially borrowed from somebody else. So what you have is an outflow of cash, so you know that you're going to have a down arrow, and you know it's going to be in the finance section. So you're going to have a decrease in cash through finance. We already did 7, and what we're going to do here is handle 8, which is bonds issued in 1990 come due, time to pay off the principal. And so what you're looking at here is that giant lump sum payment that's on a bond. So you've got some liabilities that are going to go down because you're paying off those bonds. In order to do so, what you're going to do is you're going to use the cash to do it. So you've got assets going down, cash, you've got liabilities going down, and so it balances itself out on the balance sheet. Remember, I keep coming back to this point. That's why it's down on the bottom. And what happens is that bond represents some borrowing that you've done. So you know cash is flowing out, so you know you're going to have a down arrow on the cash flow statement. And you got to figure out, is it operations, investment, or finance? Well, it's borrowing and lending, so it should be finance is where you're going to see the downtick taking cash. And that's the explanation for essential question number 1 on June 27th, 2011 in spring. Thank you much. Oh, sorry, summer. Thank you very much.